Hello everyone and welcome to our video. With so many archaeological sites in Asia, I wonder which one will we focus on today? Did we hear you right? Today, our video will take you on a journey to Rani-Ki-Vav, situated in Patan, Gujarat, without needing to book plane tickets or make the arduous journey ourselves. Sit back, relax, and let your imagination run wild as we explore Rani-Ki-Vav together. Rani-Ki-Vav is also known as the Queen's Stepwell, as it was built as a memorial to a king in the 11th century AD. Located on the banks of the Sarawati River, Rani-Ki-Vav was built in the Maru Gujara architectural style, designed as an inverted temple that highlights the sanctity of water. Before we continue, you may be wondering, what is a stepwell? Originating from the Indian subcontinent, they are a form of water storage systems that have been constructed since the 3rd millennium BC. While they started out as a pit in sandy soil, they eventually evolved to become complex multi-story works of art and architecture that astound onlookers till today. In particular, the elaborate nature of Rani-Ki-Vav can be seen from its 7 levels of stairs adorned with more than 500 principal sculptures and over 1,000 minor ones depicting religion, myth, and secularity all in one. If we were to describe every level in detail, we would be here all day. However, let us pay attention to the 4th level, which is the deepest and leads into a rectangular 9.5 meters by 9.4 meters tank at a depth of 23 meters. Furthermore, the well is located at the west end of the property and has a shaft 10 meter in diameter and 30 meters deep. Now that you know a little about Rani-Ki-Vav, let's dive deep into the site's rich story and history.
Samavasara, the enduring assembly of an enlightened one, an opportunity for tranquility, a refuge for all. This was part of the Jaina concept that inspired the building of many stepwells or vavs in India, many stepwells like Rani-Ki-Vav. In the arid air of medieval Gujarat, India, wells were an important part of irrigation systems made necessary for agriculture. Stepwells were built for such a purpose. Women came to these rectangular springs for water needed by their families, and men gathered leisurely here for refuge from the scalding sun. The building of these wells were greatly spiritual and benefited large communities of people and animals. It is because of this that such acts of construction were viewed as a religious act of charity more highly valued than ritual sacrifice. It is such a tradition that forms the base of Rani-Ki-Vav's origins. In the year 1060 of the Chalukaya dynasty, Queen Udayamati found a well in Patan, the capital of medieval Gujarat. In devotion to her husband, King Bindev I, she and Prince Kana built the Queen's Stepwell, Rani-Ki-Vav. Built in the Maru Gujarat style, the stepwell is laden with sculptures of Hindu deities and their loving consorts, Varaha and Bhudevi, Vishnu and Lakshma, and the Uma Maheshvara. Parvati is displayed in her mythical act of sacrifice, a display of dedication to her husband. On the pillars lining the walls stand asparas, nayikas, and women going about their daily routines, bathing, accessorizing, and dancing. All this a possible reflection of Queen Udayamati, her life and her love for her husband. While providing a place of refuge and water to her people, Queen Udayamati commissioned a second palace for herself and her king. It is with such a story that the foundations of the Queen's Stepwell were built. But in order to fully comprehend such an intricate architectural feat, we must dig deeper into its details.
So, how do we know who instructed the building of Rani-Ki-Vav? Ta-da! It was through the discovery of the marble statue of Queen Udayamati, and was inscribed with Maharashni Shri Udayamati. And there's also historic text saying that it's the Queen who caused to be built in the capital a new stepwell.
Looking at the surface of the stepwell, we can notice that every part involves the adorning of intricate hand-carved patterns and sculptures, illustrating the Hindu gods and goddesses, as well as the 10 incarnations of the well-known god Vishnu. Beyond these famous figures, there are named statues of an Apsara or Nayika biting an aromatic twig, with perhaps a betel leaf in her left hand and a bearded dwarf tickling her foot, or of a dancing female ascetic or yogini, Her representation of the left-handed side can be seen from the skull cup with a fish and the khatvanga in her hands. Her hair is in a jata, she is adorned with ornaments, while a bearded ascetic beats a drum. There are also interesting motifs such as the Keshanitoya Karini, depicting a woman squeezing water droplets from her hair while a swan catches them. And a Puchavalabha Nayika, a young mother pointing to the moon above her, with a child touching her breast and on her hip. The usage of iconographies of different imagery types to create a distinctive fusion has yet to be observed at any other sites, which sets them apart and causes them to be considered unusual. Yet this unusualness proposes that the Stapati, Patron, and the master craftsmen at Rani-Ki-Vav have contributed much efforts into the formation of these alluring celestial female images. They were inspired from court poetry, Devadasi tradition, as well as ritual practices, instead of creating direct replicas from their culture. The Apsaras are a type of female spirits of the clouds and waters in both Hinduism and Buddhism. Despite this, most scholars regard them as decorative appanages while downgrading them by describing them as mindless illustration or semi-divine nature and erotically driven with the main purpose of enticing its sensual thrill while being observed on the temple walls. Puranic literature has also portrayed them as a form of temptation for men, witches, and gods to stray from their own path of righteousness and spirituality. However, their actions do not serve mere erotica purposes, but could refer to their playfulness or even motherhood. For instance, this can be seen in the Puchavalabha Nayika having her child touch her own breast.
So, other than appreciating the beauty of the structure and the ingenious system, what can we learn about the Solakhin period when Rani-Ki-Vav was built? Firstly, this stepwell being one of the largest stepwell in the region, it displayed large amount of sculptures and the quality of workmanship is truly awesome. From there, we can see the amount of resources put into it. And all these resulted from the royal patronage and also the importance of the structure in the region as a source of water and rituals associated with it. It must have been a significant part of the city as we can see from the scale of it. So, what can we infer from it? It shows that rulers at the time were great patrons of fine arts and architecture, and during that period, Patan developed as a center of trade, learning, and architectural achievement. And secondly, the high level of craftsmanship in design, for example, the side wall, decorated pillars, and also the position of it at near to the Sarawati River and also the water tank, together it formed a water system, show that the knowledge of engineering of people possessed at that time. So it makes people who takes water easier, and it is also thanks to the knowledge of the masons. They have understanding of environment and ecology of the region, knowledge of underground water system, and practical methods of construction. And the builders use their skill and knowledge to resolve engineering problems and work to fulfill the needs of people, demonstrating their high level of skills and craftsmanship.
As we step back into modern times, Rani-Ki-Vav is now a tourist attraction and historical site in Gujarat. It has gained popularity for the elaborate architecture and intricately carved sculptures of gods, goddesses, and deities. Its architectural excellence is displayed in 2001, where it survived intact despite an earthquake that caused major damage in Patan. For its art and architectural technique, the stepwell was added to the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2014 and is a protected national monument under the Archaeological Survey of India. It also hosts the Rani-Ki-Vav Festival, also known as the Water Festival, annually. However, this stepwell has not always been an attraction. Due to repetitive floods, this structure was buried for hundreds of years till the 1980s, where the Archaeological Survey of India started excavating the site. They went through extensive distilting and restoration efforts and aimed to retain the authenticity and integrity of the monument. For instance, they did several tests like wet chemical analysis and soil analysis to understand the weathering of the stones. They also had to chemically clean and treat the sculptures to protect it. This stepping well illustrates India's dedication in preservation and heritage management. Besides restoration efforts, they even shifted nearby railway lines away as part of protecting the monument. Well, their efforts are not to waste, as the Rani-Ki-Vav is now a significant monument that illustrates India's history and culture. Today, it stands as a brilliant example of India's architectural genius and earned its well-deserved place on the $100 rupee dollar.